Good evening, I'm Michael Steele. We begin tonight with the stunning news that we all woke up to. The New York Times spoke to two U.S. officials who said that the Pentagon was preparing to brief Elon Musk, a billionaire donor and government contractor with business ties across the globe, on U.S. plans for any potential conflict with China, which involves some of the military's most closely guarded secrets. The Times sought comment from the White House and the Department of Defense, which they initially did not provide. Soon after publication, however, the Pentagon spokesperson, Secretary of Defense Elon Musk, and Donald Trump all called it a fake news hit job from the failing New York Times, except the Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal, the Jeff Bezos-owned Washington Post, and NPR all confirmed the reporting. NBC News spoke to three defense officials, but they could not confirm that Musk's briefing on China would focus specifically on plans for any potential war, known as the Operational Plan, or O-Plan. Two of the officials said the briefing would be unclassified. Now, interestingly enough, Defense Secretary Hegseth, who had met with Musk this morning at the Pentagon, did not say whether the discussion completely excluded talks about China. Joining me now is retired Lieutenant General Steph Twitty, former Deputy Commander of U.S. European Command and an MSNBC military analyst, and Angelo Carusone, President and CEO of Media Matters. General, this one was a little bit of a head scratcher, I think, for a lot of folks to bring a government contractor, billionaire donor to Donald Trump into the Pentagon to do that kind of briefing, which they quickly backpedaled off of. What is your thinking around just the idea of doing that in the first place, and what potential problems that could create for the U.S. and certainly for our relationships with China and our allies?
Yeah, good to be with you, Michael. First of all, let me just say that the China O-Plan, we also call it War Plan, is one of our most sensitive operations plans that we have in the U.S. Very few people know about it. Very few people have access to it. Not only do you need clearance, an actual clearance for the plan, you also have to have a need to know. You have to be read on to certain elements of it. A lot of it is compartmented. So it's a highly secure plan. And so for someone just to gain access to it, that should never happen, because what we don't want it to have happen is our adversaries understand this plan. And it's not just China, it's Russia, it's Iran, it's North Korea. We do not need them to have access to this particular plan, because obviously, if we had to execute this plan, we would put our soldiers in harm's way, our military in harm's way, our government in harm's way, some of our folks that are living abroad in harm's way. So we have to be careful with who we allow to have access to this particular plan.
Angelo, the general mentions, a plan that virtually nobody knows about. Yep. Well, we all do now, right? Because it got out. When you are talking about need-to-know sensitivity, and in the federal government, when you're at that level, I mean, that's stuff that, it's just the president and maybe two other people kind of conversation. What does this say to you? And before I get to that, actually, I want to give a little bit more details on the Musk meeting from the New York Times. It noted the meeting had been set to be held not in Mr. Hegseth's office, but in the Tank, a secure conference room in the Pentagon, typically used for high-level meetings of members of the Joint Chiefs, their senior staff, and visiting combatant commanders. So to the general's point, this clearly was going to be that meeting, that kind of meeting, until the word got on the street that it was happening, and now everybody's yelling and crying fake news.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. There's three things in particular stick out at me. One is that when I heard this conversation, the general sort of reinforced that, too, when he talked about need to know. Just a couple of weeks ago, Elon Musk was on a right-wing podcast bragging about his security clearance and talking about the fact that he had something called essentially an all-access pass, is what he described it as, meaning that he could have access to any confidential information he wanted at any level. There was nothing he couldn't have access to, which which is not the way national security works. The general would know better than me, but it's sensitive, it's compartmentalized, and some things need to know. There is no such thing as an all-access pass, especially for somebody like him. But he was boasting about that, and I think in a way it was a reflection of something he really believes, and also a story that he's telling about himself. And that's the second thing, which is that is a testament to his influence. I thought about something that Speaker Johnson said not that long ago when talking about Elon Musk. He said that he keeps a line open to him because there's any, if Musk gets wind of something that he hasn't been sort of read into in advance, he can blow the whole thing up by just posting a couple things about it. And so he tries to keep him very informed about his moves so that Elon Musk doesn't undercut him.
Wow.
And
that's pathetic.
And he even talked about
that is. You're the friggin' Speaker of the House. That's pathetic.
And that could be what's going on. Some of this is a little bit of performance, right? Is that it is a reflection of the power and influence that Musk has. But it's
power and influence that the people are giving him.
Totally. That's right.
And then they sit back and cower to it.
And that, to me, is the problem, right? Is that it's a lot of this stuff is all theater. And that they're just, I mean, even the outfit he was wearing looked very similar to what the president wears when he's on Air Force One, right? That military bomber jacket. Like, look at me, I'm one of you. I'm cosplaying a member of the military. And that is a part of what's happening here is theater, but it is a testament to his influence, is that because of what Doge represents and what it's been imbued with, they're trying to get in front of this. And whether or not they were going to give him a classified briefing or that secret stuff, the fact is that it was probably on the table and that he's there in the first place, which is the weird thing, not this. Something's weird about this, regardless of what level of briefing it was in the first place. He shouldn't be making these kinds of decisions.